page 330, with the devotee Sadakshineshwar. Okay. Sunday, December 9th, 1883. Ramakrishna was seated on a small couch in his room with Adhar, Manmohan, Rakhal, M. Harish, and other devotees. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The master was describing to them the exalted state of Sri Chaitanya. Master, Chaitanya experienced 3 states of mind. First, the conscious state, when his mind dwelt on the gross and the subtle. Second, the semi-conscious state, when his mind entered the causal body and was absorbed in the bliss of divine intoxication. Third, the inmost state, when his mind was merged into the great cause. This agrees very well with the 5 koshas, or sheaths, described in the Vedanta. The gross body corresponds to the Annamaya kosha, and the Pranamaya kosha, the subtle body, to the Manomaya kosha and the Vijnanamaya kosha, and the causal body to Anandamaya kosha. The Mahakarana, the great cause, is beyond the 5 sheaths. When Chaitanya's mind merged in that, he would go into samadhi. This is called nirvikalpa or jada samadhi. While conscious of the outer world, Chaitanya sang the name of God. While in a state of partial consciousness, he danced with the devotees, and while in the inmost state of consciousness, he remained absorbed in samadhi. M. to himself. Is the master hinting at the different states of his own mind? There is much similarity between Chaitanya and the master. Master, Chaitanya was divine love incarnate. He came down to earth to teach people how to love God. One achieves everything when one loves God. There is no need of Hatha Yoga. A devotee, Sir, what is Hatha Yoga like? Master, a man practicing Hatha Yoga dwells a great deal on his body. He washes his intestines by means of a bamboo tube through his anus. Okay, he draws ghee and milk through his sexual organ. He learns how to manipulate his tongue by performing various exercises. He sits in a fixed posture, now and then levitates. These are all the actions of prana. A magician was performing his feats when his tongue turned up and clove to the roof of his mouth. Immediately his body became motionless. People thought he was dead. He was buried and remained many years in the grave. After a long time, the grave somehow broke open. Suddenly, the man regained consciousness of the world and cried, "Come delusion, come confusion." All laugh. All these are actions of prana. The Vedantists do not accept Hatha Yoga. There's also Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga describes how to achieve union with God through the mind by means of discrimination and bhakti. And by discrimination, they mean discerning what is permanent and what is impermanent, what's transitory and what's forever. This yoga is good. Hatha Yoga is not good. The life of a man in the Kali Yuga is dependent on food. Ramakrishna was standing in the road by the side of this Nahabat. He was on his way to his room, having come from the pine grove. He saw M seated on the veranda of the Nahabat, behind the fence, absorbed in meditation. Master, hello, you are here. You will get results very soon. If you practice a little, then someone will come forward to help you. M looked up at the master, startled. He remained seated on the floor. Master, the time is ripe for you. The mother bird does not break the shell of the egg until the right time arrives. What I have told you, indeed, is your ideal. Ramakrishna again mentioned to M his spiritual ideal. Master, it is not necessary for all to practice great austerity, but I went through great suffering. I used to lie on the ground with my head resting on a mound for a pillow. I hardly noticed the passing of the days. I only called on God and wept, "Oh, mother, oh, mother." M had been visiting Ramakrishna for the past 2 years. Since he had been educated along English lines, he had acquired a fondness for Western philosophy and science, and liked to hear Keshav and other scholars lecture. Ramakrishna would address him now and then as the Englishman. Since coming to Ramakrishna, M had lost all relish for lectures and for books written by English scholars. The only thing that appealed to him now was to see the Master day and night and hear his words that fell from his blessed lips. M constantly dwelt on certain of Sri Ramakrishna's sayings. The Master had said, one can certainly see God through the practice of spiritual discipline. And again, the vision of God is the only goal. The vision of God is the only goal of human life. Master to M, if you practice only a little, someone will come forward to tell you the right path. Observe the Ekadashi. You are my very own, my relative. Otherwise, why should you come here so frequently? While listening to the kirtan, I had a vision of Rakhal in the midst of Sri Krishna's companions in Vrindavan. Narendra belongs to a very high level. Hirananda too. How childlike his nature is. What a sweet disposition he has. I want to see him too. Once I saw the companions of Chaitanya, not in a trance, but with these very eyes. Formerly, I was in such an exalted state of mind that I could see all these things with my naked eyes, but now I see them in samadhi. I saw the companions of Chaitanya with these naked eyes. I think I saw you there, and Balaram too. You must have noticed that when I see certain people, I jump up with a start. Do you know why? A person feels that way when he sees his own people after a long time. I used to pray to the mother, crying, Mother, if I do not find the devotees, I'll surely die. Please bring them to me immediately. In those days, whatever desire arose in my mind would come to pass. I planted a tulsi grove in the Panchavati in order to practice japa and meditation. I wanted very much to fence it around with bamboo sticks. Soon afterward, a bundle of bamboo sticks and some string were carried by the flood tide of the Ganges right in front of the Panchavati. A temple servant noticed them and joyfully told me. In that state of divine exaltation, I could no longer perform the formal worship. Mother, I said, who will look after me? I haven't the power to take care of myself. I only want to listen and talk about thee. I want to feed thy devotees. I want to give a little help to those who I chance to meet. How will that be possible, Mother? Give me a rich man to stand by me. That is why Mathur Babu did so much to serve me. I said further, certainly I shall not have any children, Mother, but it is my desire that a boy with sincere love for God should always remain with me. Give me such a boy. That is the reason Rakhal came here. Those whom I think of my own are part and parcel of me. The Master started again for the Panchavati, accompanied by M. No one else was with him. Sri Ramakrishna, with a smile, narrated to him various incidents of the past years of his life. Master, you see, one day I saw a strange figure covering the whole space from the Kali temple to the Panchavati. Do you believe this? M remained silent with wonder. He plucked one or two leaves from the branch of the Panchavati and put them in his pocket. Master, see there. The branch has been broken. I used to sit under it. M. I took a young twig from that tree. I have it at home. Master, with a smile. Why? M. I feel happy when I look at it. After all this is over, this place will be considered very holy. Master, smiling. What kind of holy place? Like Panihati? Almost every year, for some time past, the Master had been attending the religious festival at Panihati. It was evening. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on a small couch in his room, absorbed in meditation on the Divine Mother. The evening worship in the temples began with the music of gong and conch shell. M was going to spend a night with the Master. After a time, Sri Ramakrishna asked him to read from the Bhaktamala, a book about Vaishnava saints. M read, There was a king named Jayamal who loved Krishna with all his heart. He followed with unfailing devotion all the rites and ceremonies associated with the adoration of Krishna, whom he worshipped under the name of Shamasundara. Completely satisfied with his own chosen ideal, he never directed his attention to any other god or goddess. One of the inflexible rules of his devotion was to worship the deity daily till almost midday. He would never deviate from that practice, even at the risk of his wealth or his kingdom. Learning his secret, an enemy king invaded the kingdom during the morning hours. Jayamal's soldiers could not fight without his command, so they watched the invasion silently. Slowly the enemy surrounded the moat of the capital, yet Jayamal did not come out of his shrine room. His mother came to him and wept bitterly, trying to persuade the king to fight. He said to her calmly, "Why are you worried? Shamala Sundara gave me this kingdom. What can I do if he has decided to take it away? On the other hand, none will be able to do harm to me if he protects me. Our own efforts are in vain." And actually, in the meantime, Shamala Sundara, the deity himself, had taken the king's horse from the stable and had ridden fully armed to the field. Alone he faced the hostile king and alone destroyed his army. Having crushed the enemy forces, the deity returned to the temple and fastened the horse nearby. Jayamal, on completing his worship, came out and discovered the horse there, panting and covered with sweat. "Who has been riding my horse?" he demanded. "Who brought it to the temple?" The officers declared they knew nothing about it. In a pensive mood, the king proceeded to the battlefield with his army, and there found the enemy, with the exception of their leader, lying dead. He was staring incomprehendingly at the scene. When the enemy king approached, worshipped him, and said, "Please permit me to tell you something. How could I fight? You have a warrior who could conquer the entire world. I do not want your wealth or your kingdom. Indeed, I will gladly give you my own, if you will tell me about that blue warrior, your friend. No sooner did I turn my eyes on him than he cast a spell over my heart and soul." Jayamal then realized that it had been none other than Shamala Sundara that had appeared on the battlefield. The enemy king understood, too. He worshipped Jayamal and through his blessings received Krishna's grace. "Master, do you believe all that? Do you believe Krishna rode on that horse and killed Jayamal's enemies?" M. "I believe that Jayamal, Krishna's devotee, prayed to him with a yearning heart. I don't know whether the enemy really saw him coming to the battlefield on a horse. Krishna might have come there riding on a horse, but I don't know whether they really saw him." Master with a smile. "The book contains many nice stories about devotees, but it is one-sided. It also abuses those who differ with its views." The next morning, the master and M were talking in the garden. M. "Then I shall stay here." Master. "Well, you all come here so often, but what does it mean? People visit a holy man once at the most, but you all come here so often. What is the significance of that?" M remained silent. The master himself gave the reply. Master. "Could you have come here unless you belonged to my inner circle? That means you are my own relatives, my own people, like father and son, brother and sister. I do not tell you everything. If I did, would you come here anymore?" Once Shukadeva went to Janaka to be instructed in the knowledge of Brahman. Janaka said, "First give me my fee." "But," said Shukadeva, "why should I give you the fee before receiving the instruction?" Janaka laughed and said, "Will you be conscious of guru and disciple after attaining Brahmajnana? That's why I asked you for the fee before." It was night. The moon rose, flooding all the quarters with its silvery light. M was walking alone in the garden of the temple. On one side of the path stood the Panchavati, the Bakwal Grove, the Nahabat, and the master's room, and the other side flowed the Ganges, reflecting millions of broken runes on its rippling surface. M said to himself, "Can one really see God? The master says it is possible. He says that if one makes a little effort, then someone comes forward and shows the way. Well, I'm married. I have children. Can one realize God in spite of that?" M reflected a while and continued his soliloquy. "Surely one can. Otherwise, why would the master say so? Why shouldn't it be possible through the grace of God? Here is the world around me, the sun, moon, stars, living beings, and the 24 cosmic principles. How did they come into existence? Who is their creator? What am I to him? Life is indeed vain without this knowledge. Ramakrishna is certainly the best of men, In all my life, I've not seen another great soul like him. He must have seen God. Otherwise, how could he talk to God day and night, addressing him so intimately as mother? Otherwise, how could he love God so intimately? Such is his love for God that he forgets the outer world. He goes into samadhi and remains like a lifeless thing. Again, in the ecstasy of that love, he laughs and cries and dances and sings. And that is enough. That is that day. We move on to the next one, which is Friday, December 14th, 1883. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Sri Ramakrishna was standing on the southeast veranda near the door of his room with Ramlal by his side. Rakhal and Latu were moving about. M arrived and prostrated himself before the master. Sri Ramakrishna said to him affectionately, "You have come, that's very good. Today is an auspicious day." It was the last day of the Bengali month and the day of the full moon. M was going to spend a few days with the master practicing spiritual discipline. The master has said to him, if an aspirant practices a little spiritual discipline, then someone comes forward to help him. The master had said to M, "You should not eat every day at the guest house of the Kali temple. The guest house is intended to supply free food to monks and the destitute. Bring your own cook with you." M had accordingly done so. The master arranged a place for the man to cook, and he asked Ramlal to speak to the milkman about milk. A little later, Ramlal began to read from the Adhyatma Ramayana. The master and M listened while he read. Rama had married Sita after breaking the great bow of Shiva. On the way to Ayodhya with his bride, Rama was confronted by the warrior sage Parashurama and was about to make trouble for him. Parashurama threw a bow at Rama and challenged him to string it. Dasharatha, Rama's father, was seized with fear. With a smile, Rama took the bow in his left hand and strung it. Then, twanging the bowstring, he fixed on an arrow and asked Parashurama where to shoot it. That curbed the pride of the warrior sage. Prostrating himself before Rama, Parashurama worshipped him as the supreme Brahman. As Sri Ramakrishna listened to Parashurama's hymn, he went into a spiritual mood and now and then chanted the name of Rama in his melodious voice. Then the master asked Ramlal to read about Guhaka. Ramlal read, "Guhaka, the pariah, was chief of the untouchables and an intimate friend of Rama. When Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana were starting into the forest to redeem Dasharatha's pledge, Guhaka ferried them across the river. Rama embraced Guhaka tenderly and told them that he was going to spend 14 years in exile, wearing the bark of trees and eating the herbs, fruits, and roots that grew in the woods. He promised to visit Guhaka again on his way back from Ayodhya after the period of exile was over. The pariah king waited patiently, but when the 14th year had run out and Rama had not returned, Guhaka lighted a funeral pyre. He was on the point of entering it when Hanuman arrived as Rama's messenger. In a celestial chariot, Rama and Sita soon appeared, and Guhaka's joy was unbounded. After the midday meal, Sri Ramakrishna lay down in his bed to rest. M was seated on the floor. Presently, Dr. Sharma and a few devotees arrived. The master sat up on the bed and began to converse with them. "Master, it is by no means necessary for a man always to be engaged in his duties. Action drops away when one realizes God, as the flower drops of itself when the fruit appears. He who has realized God no longer performs religious duties, such as the sandhya. In his case, the sandhya merges into the Gayatri. When that happens, it is enough for a person to repeat just the Gayatri mantra. Then the Gayatri merges in Om. After that, one no longer chants even the Gayatri. It is enough to simply chant Om. How long should a man practice such devotions as the sandhya? As long as he does not feel a thrill in his body and shed tears of joy while repeating the name of Rama or of Hari. People worship God to win money or a lawsuit. That is not good." A devotee: We find that everyone strives after money. Even Keshav Sen married his daughter to a prince. Master, Keshav Sen's case is quite different. God provides everything for a genuine devotee, even without making any effort. The son of a real king gets his monthly allowance. I'm not talking of lawyers and men of that sort who go through suffering in order to earn money and who become slaves of others to that end. I'm speaking of a real prince. A true devotee has no desire. He does not care for money. Money comes to him of itself. The Gita describes such a devotee as content with whatever comes to him without effort. A good Brahmin, without any personal motive, can accept food from even the house of an untouchable. He does not desire it. It comes of its own accord. A devotee. Sir, how long should one live in the world? Excuse me. Master, live in the world as a mudfish lives in the mud. One develops love of God by going away from the world in solitude now and then and meditating upon God. After that, one can live in the world unattached. The mud is there, and the fish has to live in it, but its body's not stained by the mud. Such a man can lead the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. The master noticed that M was listening to his words with great attention. Master, looking at M. One can realize God if one feels intense dispassion for worldly things. A person with such dispassion feels that the world is like a forest on fire. He regards wife and children as a deep well. If he really feels that kind of dispassion, he renounces home and family. It's not enough for him to live in the world in a spirit of detachment. Lust and greed alone is Maya. If Maya is once recognized, it feels ashamed of itself and takes to flight. A person put on a tiger skin and tried to frighten another man. The latter said, I recognized you. You are our Hare. At that, the man dressed in the skin went away smiling and to go and frighten someone else. That's really good. All women are the embodiments of Shakti. It is the primordial power that has become women and appears to us in the form of women. It is said in the Adhyatma Ramayana that Narada and others praised Rama, saying, O Rama, thou alone art all that we see male and female, and thou alone art all that we see as male, and Sita all that we see as female. Thou art Indra, and Sita is Indrani. Thou art Shiva, and Sita is Shivani. Thou art man, and Sita is woman. What more need I say? Thou alone dost exist, and wherever there is a male, and Sita wherever there is a female. To the devotees, one cannot renounce by the mere wish. There are prarabdha karma, inherited tendencies, and the like. Once a yogi said to a king, live with me in the forest and think of God. The king replied, that I cannot very well do. I could live with you, but I still have the desire for enjoyment. If I live in the forest, perhaps I shall create a kingdom even here, for I still have desires. Natabar Panja used to look after his cows in the garden during his boyhood. He had a great many desires. Hence, he established a castor oil factory and earned a great deal of money. He has a prosperous castor oil business at Alambazar. There is one sect that prescribes spiritual discipline in the company of women. I was once taken to the women belonging to the Kartabhaja sect. They all sat around me. I addressed them as mother. At that, they whispered amongst themselves, he is still a Pravartika. He doesn't know the way. According to that sect, the Pravartika is a beginner. Then comes the Sadhaka, the struggling aspirant, and last of all, the Siddha of the Siddha, the supremely perfect. A woman walked over to Vaishnavacharya and sat near him. Asked about it, he answered, she feels just like a young girl. One quickly strays from the religious path by looking upon woman as wife. But to regard her as mother is a pure attitude. Some of the devotees took leave of the master, saying they were going to visit the temple of Kali and several of the other temples. M went walking alone in the Panchavati and other places in the temple garden. He thought about the Master's assurance that God can be easily realized, and about his exhortation to lead a life of intense renunciation, and his saying that Maya, when recognized, takes flight. At 3:30 in the afternoon, M again entered the Master's room and sat on the floor. A teacher from the Broughton Institution had come with several students to pay a visit to Sri Ramakrishna. They were conversing together. Now and then, the teacher asked questions. The conversation was about the worship of images. Master, to the teacher, what is wrong with image worship? The Vedanta says that Brahman manifests itself wherever there is existence, light, and love. Therefore, nothing exists but Brahman. How long do small girls play with their dolls? As long as they are not married and do not live with their husbands. After marriage, they put the dolls away in a box. What further need is there of worshiping the image after the vision of God? The Master glanced at M and said, one attains God when one feels yearning for him. An intense restlessness is needed. Through it, the whole mind goes to God. A man had a daughter who became a widow when she was very young. She had never known her husband. She noticed the husbands of other girls and said to her one day to her father, where is my husband? The father replied, Govinda is your husband. He will come to you if you call him. At these words, the girl went to her room, closed the door, and cried, Govinda, oh Govinda, come to me. Show yourself to me. Why don't you come? God could not resist the girl's piteous cry and appeared before her. One must have childlike faith in the intense yearning that a child feels for its mother. That yearning is like the red sky in the east at dawn. After such a sky, the sun must rise. Immediately after that yearning, one sees God. I think this is actually a good place to stop. Any discussion or questions or comments on this? Anybody want to add or subtract anything? Devi Prana, what do you say?
It was very good.
Well, you can't beat Sri Ramakrishna.
Yeah, it was excellent.
Lita Wandati, Ganga, John. Get to see Ganga. Excellent. All right, then. So I know we have some functions here. And tomorrow there will be a lecture on Western women in the Vedanta movement. A week from today, we will have Swami Yogatmananda giving a retreat here on that day. What is the official time for that? Starting 10? 10:30, from 10:30 to 3. So please join us if you can. That would be lovely. If you want to bring food, that's great also. On Sunday, he will give a lecture. Oh, the retreat is on the Dome of the Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And the Sunday lecture the following day is on the open secret. So I hope you can all attend, either in person or via Zoom, YouTube. Oh, right. Oh, yes, there won't be a gospel reading next week because there will be, again, this major retreat that is going to leave you so filled with joy. Okay. All right, so I'll conclude with a chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all for joining us, and see y'all later.
Thank you. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma. Jai Ma.